Welcome to the HealthiHer podcast. Your host, Dr. Amy Brenner, is a board-certified OBGYN with additional certifications in functional and integrative medicine. This podcast is meant to help women find reliable, relevant information to help them feel better, look better, and live better. Here you will hear in-depth information about hormones, sexual medicine, aesthetics, cosmetic gynecology, and functional medicine.
My special guest is my number one fan in business and in life, and that's my husband, Kevin Cox. So welcome, Kevin.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be your first guest.
Yeah, I thought it was appropriate to have you, and I just wanted to talk today of how I even got started in integrative medicine, and I thought you would be the perfect person because you were there from the very beginning.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, I've actually been a board certified OBGYN physician for 20 years and spent the first 11 years of my practice doing traditional gynecology or OB and gynecology in a large group here in Cincinnati. Kevin, if you could just explain like maybe what life was like for us as a couple and as a family with a OBGYN taking call, some from home, some from being in the hospital.
Yeah, it was craziness. Like most families, we were just starting out. We had young kids at home, and your schedule, for lack of a better term, was very demanding. And so your call coverage, like a lot of traditional obstetricians, was 24 hours spent at the hospital. So about every 6 days you were gone for a day. And, there was a lot of, blessings that it provided for our family, but certainly challenges as well, just from logistics. So I had to be at home holding down the fort while you're gone. But then even when you were off call, there was usually about a 24-hour recovery period of just, sleep and other things of trying to get your body physically back in shape after probably just going nonstop for 24 hours. So that was our life in the early days, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about it is we're relatively young. We did that, in our 30s. So basically from 30 to 40. And I would say, in general, we were pretty healthy, but as I look back now, I really wasn't as healthy as I thought. Kind of a healthy breakfast for me at the time was going up the street and getting a whole wheat bagel with butter and a coffee, and I thought that was a healthy breakfast.
Oh, exactly. Let's put the low fat cream cheese on it, and we're doing well, right? And I think we had energy, so maybe we mistook a little bit of, because we were younger, we had a fair amount of energy, and you mistake that sometimes for healthiness, and that's
right.
not always the case.
So when I found myself kind of at my late 30s of, weight wasn't as easy to keep off like it was up until that point. I felt like I was packing on the pounds despite working out with a trainer and monitoring every morsel that I put into my body. You probably remember the days when, intimacy and sexual relations, like I wasn't really that interested because I was tired. We had 3 babies. And just from a health standpoint, like it really wasn't that important to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But not a lot different from any challenges that young families face, and priorities shift, and things get out of whack kind of easily. And I would argue that it was probably amplified in your case because not a lot of moms are working 24 hours 6 days a week without sleep. And so that's a tough thing to recover from, on top of just the challenges of raising a young family.
Yeah, and I know you aren't you're not in the medical field, but at the time I was, taking care of myself, of how I was taught to take care of my patients. And so I was taking birth control pills because we decided that 3 kids was kind of what made our family complete. Certainly having 3 little babies, somebody was always crying. And so I had the home stress, the work stress, and was taking something to help with mood. Sleeping definitely was an issue, even when I was at home and wasn't on calls. So the combination of those things just led me to a place where, I was taking some medications and I just wasn't that healthy. And I don't know if you remember the first conference that opened the door of what led me into this practice, but I went to that conference, and my mom and my sister actually came with me just as tourists, because the conference was located in New York City. And I came out of that conference just hearing a little bit about bioidentical hormones and weight loss, and it just opened the door for me. And soon after that, I rocked your world and said, I'm going to leave this practice where I'm a partner in, and I'm going to start my own practice, because I learned this aspect of medicine and I can't do it in the setting that I'm currently doing it. I'm sure you remember that conversation.
Oh, I remember that conversation. I thought I was on an episode of Punk'd or something. Like, are you joking me? Like, we're finally getting over the hump with these kids young, and you're, from my lens, you're a senior partner now in a big medical practice. Like, you've climbed the ladder, you put in the work, and you can kind of see the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm like, surely this is just a phase or something. It too shall pass, is what I was thinking at the time. So I fully remember that conversation, though.
Yeah, and you offered to, I'll do more at home. I'll do the shopping. I'll do the laundry, or we'll get somebody to help. And, just keep doing what you're doing. It's okay. And that lasted for a little while. And then I think I finally said, I don't want to practice medicine like this anymore. There were days in the office at my old practice where I saw 50, 60, almost 70 patients in a day. And I just didn't want to be the doctor of, you tell me a problem and I write you a prescription anymore.
Yeah, I definitely knew that. I think it had been building in you for a while. And we, I guess, unfortunately, suffered a life-changing event in the passing of my mother. And I think that the timing of that, coupled with the burning desire that you had been feeling for a while, was enough to say, it's time. Life is too short. I want to make a fundamental change in my personal and professional life, and it's time. And so that was kind of the impetus that pushed you over the edge there. So I remember that time fully well. Took a life-changing event to really move in a different direction. And then here we are on your first podcast, kind of reflecting on what got it all started.
Yeah, 10 years later. So, it was kind of multifactorial of, you're right. The final straw was when your mother passed away, and I just realized life's too short to be unhappy in a job, and work-life balance is really important. Now, the first couple years in practice, in this current practice, is I kind of was like, oh my goodness, what have I gotten into? Because I was still working a lot of hours because there was so much to learn. I'm sure you remember those days of I would work until 5, but then come home, eat dinner with the kids, and then still like work until 12, 1, 2 in the morning.
Oh, I fully remember those days. And truth be told, I think one of the reasons why, and I'm looking at this through the lens that I look at things through, maybe a little bit different lens than you look through, but I had started my own business back in the day. And then I was in a role with with my company where I was in charge of bringing on new businesses and starting them from the ground. And I just knew all the little things that went into launching a business, completely irrespective from all the clinical aspects that you're referring to, but just how daunting it can be to launch a business from the ground up. And so I knew that going in, and I was certainly just hesitant because I knew that it was hard to really convey that to you. But hats off to you. I think you kind of ultimately powered through all those obstacles, and you're willing to do whatever it took early on to make sure that this vision that you had became a reality.
Yeah, and luckily I did have you to help with the business aspects of it, so I could focus on the clinical or medical aspects, because I had a lot to learn. I was totally shifting the way I practice medicine. Now, I still continued with traditional gynecology and still doing ablations, and we trademarked that word MyFlow. For no more periods, period. And so that was a huge aspect of my practice. But I decided that after I kind of helped myself get off birth control pills and the other prescriptions I was taking, is after I did that and tested my hormones and started taking some supplements myself to get me to help with sleep and to help with stress and adrenal health, is I look back, I'm like, I didn't even think I was, quote, that messed up, end quote. And then after I helped myself, and was, feeling better in my mid 40s than I did at 30, I just realized that, there's so many other women that don't know about these things, and I have to do this. And so it was great to just, feel myself again and not be this person that was, grumpy and heavier than I wanted to be, and just really didn't have any interest in, in sex, quite honestly. So I'm sure you're glad that we got past that part.
Oh, there are zero complaints on my end about that, and I'd probably speak for most men that might be partaking in the podcast. I think that's definite. And again, it's stage of life. A lot of it's stage of life related, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I think when you finally learned that and found some clinical ways to address that, and then it just becomes that proverbial snowball running downhill, where you have more energy, so now you want to take on more things, and when you take on more things you feel better, which gives you more energy, and just a lot of things then just really came into focus, and you started firing on all cylinders, as they say.
Yeah, so because it wasn't something that you and I were having problems, it was more of a medical thing of early on in our marriage, I used oral contraceptives to prevent pregnancy. And then we moved to a permanent non-hormonal option. And so, we did have little kids and I was working, but there was also some medical factors that went into that. And so, once we got rid of the medical factors that were affecting things, it just added that aspect of our relationship that was missing, I think, because of, medical factors mainly.
Yeah, I agree. And so that was certainly a great way for me to kind of understand clinically where you were going with this venture, because, first of all, I'm a man, and I was looking at things through a different lens than you. So truth be told, I didn't quite understand the realm that we're focusing on, because I knew what you did from a traditional standpoint and how you were trained, and then my eyes really got opened early on to not only what it did to you, but then the success you were having in treating other women, and it just opened my eyes to understanding an entirely different direction that you were moving.
I remember you weren't really on board with bringing in the other services. In fact, from day one, we decided in our practice to offer aesthetics and Botox and fillers and chemical peels and, things like that. And I think I don't know. Do you remember what you told me when I said I was going to bring aesthetics into my practice?
No, go ahead and refresh my memory. I'm sure it was less than kind, but go ahead.
Yeah, you said, why don't you just stick to what you know? And why are you going to complicate things? And so you were against it. And I said, I just want to create a place of kind of a one-stop shop where women can come for their just gynecological care, for hormone therapy, for aesthetics, and it can all be under one roof. But you didn't think that was a good idea.
No, I definitely didn't. So how do I politely say that I certainly resisted some of these efforts? I was late to the party most times, but I'm so glad, and ultimately I tell you how proud I am of you all the time. But I'm so glad that I didn't listen to you, because I realized in short order that you certainly have a comprehensive understanding of what you desire, which translate into what women desire. And I learned after a brief period of time that I just need to get out of your way and let you follow up on your vision, and I'll be the person behind the scenes that helps kind of pull the business aspects together. But yes, I'm definitely glad that I finally relented, and as always, you were right. How about that? I'm publicly stating that you are right.
So I think that is a great ending to our first episode of Podcast of Women. Isn't there anything better that you wouldn't rather hear of you were right and I was wrong? So I don't think we can have a better ending. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of HealthiHer. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and the web. Go to www.dramybrenner.com to learn more. This podcast is for general information only and does not constitute as medical advice, the practice of medicine, nursing, or other healthcare services. No patient-physician relationship is formed. The information in the podcast and any references, material, or links are at the sole discretion of the listener and not meant to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listeners should not delay or disregard obtaining medical advice for any medical issues or diagnoses that they may have, and should seek medical advice from their healthcare provider for any such conditions.